my name is Tori Pelz and I'm an assistant professor here in the art department. And today I'm joined by Temporary Services, Brett Bloom and Marc Fischer. And we are asking our visiting artists one burning question, and that question is, how do the arts contribute to public good?
Yeah, in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
It's, we start often by looking at what most art that creates a public conversation does. Mm-hmm. And it usually takes a certain amount of unpacking of the various interests that are behind it. So I think one thing that's missing a lot of the time around conversations about public art and kind of the effect it's having on various publics is the interest behind the placing and citing of artwork. Does it benefit one particular group and their perspectives? Is it an investment that's going to benefit a few people, or is it going to impact a lot of other people? Mm-hmm. And I think these forms of analysis, these ways of kind of getting at the often secretive ways in which art goes out into the world is really important to understand and kind of to pick apart and to teach. And so we spend a lot of time actually focusing on this aspect of art's role in public discourse and public life, and try to respond to it in kind of some of the things that we've done in our own work. But this is an ongoing question we have about why something is placed where it's placed. Who does it serve? Like, what is it actually doing as opposed to what it's symbolically supposed to be doing? And this is really a critical question that we're constantly asking of ourselves and our peers and of those who are working in a public way.
Yeah, and I think that's something that is interesting and probably separates y'all's practice from traditional studio object makers, and that you really invite people, especially those without power outside of traditional systems of power, to define those terms of what is art, what is the public good.
Yeah, I think some of our most effective work has maybe not registered immediately as art to the viewer, especially when things are cited outside of traditional exhibition venues. So I think so much of what we think of as art, that's made publicly visible, often has more of a kind of decorative function, or it's a kind of entertainment destination, and sometimes provoking the sort of thinking or questioning or conversation that is most compelling to us means not announcing the work as such, or accepting that creative work doesn't necessarily have to be identified as art to provoke those kinds of lines of questioning.
Along those lines, you, I think, set a pretty high bar for yourselves to engage the public in the way that your art engages the public, with the spirit of generosity and integrity. And it's just really satisfying to see artists in your discipline whose spirit and gestures to the public match your work, and I've been really encouraged by that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We definitely try. It doesn't always work. It could be quite exhausting
I imagine.
taking this role. I think
Sure.
it's often easier to just disengage and kind of hide in ideas.
Yeah.
But we made some amazing friendships by just kind of putting ourselves out there and kind of like welcoming whoever comes, and it's been incredibly productive, and just made some amazing collaborations with people who never come to contemporary art otherwise, or like see themselves as having anything to do with it, because it often does seem so removed from surviving. I mean, you have to survive in this country. Like, who has time to kind of go look at aesthetic things except for those with the privilege to do it? So it's critical to be engaged, or there's not much relevance for what we do, and we're trying to push at definitely the boundaries of what artistic discourse can bring. There is a history in this country. We brought this up yesterday in our talk. A history in the country of federal funding for artists who transformed society and kind of helped us get back on our feet. In the 1930s, after the Great Depression, artists were involved in massive construction projects and decorating bridges, making murals for public buildings. This recovery from two massive world wars And in the 60s and 70s, after cultural upheaval, there was funding that democratized art institutions and larger institutions within the United States in regards to access to women, people of color, LGBTQ folks, et cetera. So it transformed the forms of artwork as well. So we've seen on a really large scale in this country the power of art to lift people up, especially people who've been marginalized because of race, because of endemic racism. Black artists in the 30s getting funding and lifting these amazing voices up to make incredible artwork at a time well before the civil rights movement.
Right.
And black voices were starting to be more heard. So yeah, so we think that there's this huge potential for art to transform, and we're trying to go into it and figure out our own little way into doing that. Yeah.